Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is a brand new exclusive story from my incredible friend, DanielBaldridge. As ever, please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid crew. And so, with that aside, let's get into tonight's story, entitled The Battle in the North. Let's get straight into that. It's been 9 moons since I was banished from my lord's land for a crime I did not commit. I was framed for the murder of the lord's most valuable slave. No matter how hard I tried to plead my case to the council, they all agreed to sentence me to be outlawed. That meant I could never return, and I was fair game to enemies, the wilderness, and even to the very people from the land I used to call home. After the ruling was final, I had to leave immediately or suffer getting attacked by the people, or worse, killed. In the heat of my escape, I managed to grab my axe and shield, only to have the skin on my back and my boots on my feet. Not enough if I was going to have to survive in a new, hopefully well-promising land. My name is Bjorn Magnusson, son of Leith and Jorgen Magnusson. My late parents had only one child and were wealthy farmers who wanted me to grow up and to be a farmer just like them. It's a peaceful life, boy. You do well to best learn it and apply it. My father would always tell me, but I had a temper and a bad attitude and always got into trouble growing up. I wanted to go on adventures and raids with the other warrior men and women. My father was hard-driven and a hard worker, whereas my mother was the calm and supportive loving woman who had always told me, be true to yourself and let the gods guide you to your fate. I guess you could say my temper and thirst for the adventure got me to where I am today, banished into the cold and unforgiving Norwegian forests. Is this what the gods had in mind, Mother? I asked while staring at the warm fire, trying to shake the cold from my bones. My black wolfskin coat was drying next to the fire, along with my muskox boots, as they are the only defense I had in this icy bitterness of the Norwegian winter. I managed to catch a couple of snow hares from the homemade traps and had them cooking over the fire. Looking at them made me shake my head in disappointment. Going to need more food than that soon if I want to survive, I said to myself as I checked the meat. Once they were done, I peeled the meat and threw some of it out as an offering to the land and the gods for allowing me to not go hungry. I even gave some to Skadai, the god of winter, just to humor her and hoping she might be in my favor. Here's to you, I said as I ate the rest of the meat and also toasted Odin and Thor as they may protect me and guide me on my new adventure. With my stomach full, boots and fur dry, I covered up and put on some more wood on the fire to keep me warm throughout the night. I had just finished putting on the last log of the fire when I heard it. A long, deep, bellowing howl that echoed through the frozen forest that made my whole body tensed. At first I thought it was just some distant thunder from the faraway mountains. But then it came closer, and this time louder and more intense. My mind raced and my blood boiled as fear and anger came over me. I lit a branch for the light so I could see better in the dark, and I raised it over my head, looking into the everlasting darkness, searching for what might have made that sound. And then I heard the crunch of heavy footsteps in the snow behind me, and heavy, labored breathing mixed with deep, guttural grunts. I picked up my axe, and with the fire in one hand, my axe in the other, I was ready. The footsteps, they seemed to be circling me slowly, but at a steady pace. I focused on one area where I heard them, when they came more from the other side of the fire, and there were two of them. I thought quickly and yelled out in rage as I was ready. I threw the branch into the fire and grabbed my shield, hitting my axe against it and taunting whatever was out there. And then I heard a loud yelp, like an animal being struck down. This caught me off guard as it was all silence again. I couldn't hear anything except my heart vibrating my whole body. Just then, out of nowhere, a huge black mass of fur and teeth jumped out of the darkness and tackled me to the ground, snarling and growling and biting at my face. I reached for my axe, which was knocked out of my hands from the force of this beast. I grabbed the axe and swung it hard and struck the beast in the shoulder. It gave out a gutful yelp and backed off of me. Immediately I just got to my feet when I saw another one come charging at me. The eyes glowed yellow from the fire. Its black fur was darker than the night itself. And as it charged, I braced my shield and threw all of my weight into the blow against the beast's face. Hearing its bones crack and seeing blood spill paint, the snow a crimson red. I quickly came to my senses and realized these were just wolves, but they were huge, about as big as a full-grown moose. I quickly saw the one I smashed into the shoulder come at me again, but this time instead of running on all fours, it rose onto its hind legs. My eyes widened and mouth dropped open. Its paws were not paws, but hands with razor-sharp talons. And as it came near and raised its hand to strike, I quickly ducked underneath its deathly swipe and slammed my axe into its stomach, tearing fur and flesh in its wake. Blood covered the snow and most of my face. As I stood up ready for the next attack, I noticed they both were just staring at me with those intensely burning yellow eyes. Hearing the labored breathing from the one I'd slashed its stomach, it made me laugh, and I shouted, "Come on, kill me! I will be glad to dine in Valhalla tonight." But they just stood there, bleeding and watching me, with their eyes filling with rage and hate. And then, all of a sudden, they both rose up onto their hind legs and seemed to talk to one another, with grunts and growls. All the while looking back at me and then to one another again. This angered me as I was not done. I picked up the branch from the fire and threw it at them, thinking this would entice them, but one of the beasts, I caught the fiery branch in its claws and held it and looked me in the eyes. And with one snap, it broke the branch and let it fall to the ground, as if to say, "I will be your death." After what seemed to be an eternity, the beasts went back down to all fours and ran off into the night without making a single sound. I stood there, stained with blood and sweat dripping off of me. I felt the burning sensation from the slashes on my face and a deep gash to my left ear. I walked back to my fire and placed the blade of my axe into the fire to get it red hot to seal my wounds, as they were very deep. And after I wiped off most of the blood from my face and wounds, the axe blade glowed bright red, and putting a stick in my mouth, I reached for the fiery hot blade and bit down onto the stick as I pressed the blade against my flesh. The smell of burning flesh and blood filled my nostrils as I let out a muffled scream of anguish and pain. I spat out the stick into the fire and laid on my back to let the pain drain from my body, still contemplating on what had just happened. I just closed my eyes when I heard a low whimper coming from ahead of me in the forest. I shot up, my face cringing in pain from my freshly sealed wounds. "Oh, so you've come back to finish me, eh?" I yelled, getting to my feet, and I grabbed my axe again with my shield, my axe still hot from the fire, thinking it would be of good use to bring my hot steel blade to its flesh. I yelled, getting to my feet. I grabbed my axe and shield, and with my axe still hot from the fire, thinking it would be of good use to bring my hot steel blade to its flesh. I started walking carefully towards the sound and heard it again. I was very close, and I readied myself and charged into the dark, swinging my axe blindly. And then all of a sudden, my feet hit something, sending me falling face first into the frozen ground. I quickly stood up, licking the blood from my busted nose, and looked down at what I tripped over, and it was one of them. I rose my axe to strike, and that's when the beast looked up at me, and I froze mid-strike. That's when I looked it over and realized it was much smaller than the other two, and its eyes were black, not yellow. I then saw a long cut down the left side of its body, all the way down to its hind leg. It looked up at me and gave me that same whimper I had heard earlier, with its tongue hanging out to one side of its huge, fang-filled maw. "So, that was you all along, huh?" I said as I lowered my axe, still on guard, not knowing what could happen, for I have already seen what they can do. "Give me reason as to why I should not slay you, beast," I said, while still gripping my axe tightly, pointing it at it. I let out a long, deep whimper and met my gaze with sorrowful eyes. That seemed different than the others. And then it tried to stand, but its wounds were too severe, and it fell down crying in pain once more. I said, sheathing my axe and throwing my shield over my shoulder. "I guess if you wanted to, you could have growled or even tried to bite me, but you didn't. Okay, I will help you, but if you betray me, I will kill you, dog. You got it?" It seemed to understand me, and it blinked those big black eyes and gave out a similarly puppy-like bark as it wagged its long tail. This wolf beast was twice the size of me and very broad. I wonder why the other two attacked it, or if that's what happened. All these thoughts were running through my head as I looked the beast over. And 20 minutes must have passed, and I was still wondering what to do about its wounds. I don't want to make it mad or have to make any noise, so it wouldn't draw any attention. "Let's wait till morning, and we will see about those wounds, huh?" I said while giving it a light pet on its massive head. It seemed to understand and smiled a very intimidating, toothy grin. I shook my head, still in disbelief at this whole situation. I got up and walked back to my fire and laid down on my elkskin, taking one last look at the beast. But I could still see it laying there, watching me with hopeful eyes. "Don't betray me, beast." I sighed and immediately went to sleep. I awoke feeling the warm morning sun on my face, and my body ached and was stiff from the wounds and the battle from the night before. I looked at the fire as it was just embers now, but then I saw the beast lying next to it, not even 5 feet from me. I jumped up, shocked to see it so close. "What are you doing, beast?" I yelled. "Sneaking up on me like that?" It raised its head and opened its wide mouth and yawned. It made it sound like when wolves yawn, kind of a... And I laughed and walked over to it, holding my hand out. It sniffed and licked my hand and wagged its tail, brushing the snow from side to side. "Well, let's look at you, beast, see what we have to do." I began looking over its body, and I was shocked to see that there was not a scratch on it. Its wounds, they had completely healed. It just had long scars down its left side. "What in Odin's name are you, beast?" I asked, shaking my head. It just gave out another playful bark and stood up on all fours. Its size made me step back. I was standing face to face with the beast. I noticed that his hind legs were not like the others. This was just a huge wolf. So, you were attacked too last night, huh boy? I asked, looking under its hind legs and checking to see if it was a male. Yep, you're a big boy, all right. I laughed and scratched his head. This horse-sized wolf was different. It didn't have the evil malice as the others. My guess is they attacked him, or he tried to attack them, and lost. Of whatever the reason, I'm glad. He's a good boy. My thought last night over, how the wolf could heal so quickly. Normal wolves are not this big, nor do they heal so fast. I decided I'll try to make a friend, since it looks like we both are outcasts. Maybe it is fate that we met, beast. Huh? What do you think? I asked it, and it gave an affirmative bark, which was deep and loud. If the gods will it, then I shall call you Bayon. He seemed to like his name and jumped up and down, making the ground shake beneath my feet. Okay, boy, settle down. We got to get some food first, before anything. And with a feeling of newfound confidence, I went to pack up my camp, and that's when the howling started again. Bayon's ears perked up and he growled, eyes looking into the forest. Wow. Certainly another one. Wow. What an intriguing and absolutely juicy storyline here from the incredible DanielBaldridge. Big thank you, Daniel, for getting in touch with me and penning this wonderful story. I feel this has a huge potential for growth and development, and certainly look forward to any further updates from yourself. Well, guys and girls, short but certainly packing a punch. Please, as ever, do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help with the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid crew. If you're an aspiring writer or would just like to have a crack at things like myself, please do get in touch with me at the usual email as on screen, which is DMTForestOfFEAR@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Slowly getting back into the swing of things, guys and girls. Thank you all so much for your kind messages and patience. I'm looking forward to kicking off some extra long stories over the next few days from your favourite authors. As ever, I hope you're all well and happy, keeping fit and focused during these testing times. But above all, remember guys, be safe, not sorry.